Hi, I'm Jenna Ryan, and I have 4 books that will be available on the Scream app. I'm going to tell you a story because I've never had a paranormal experience. So this is a story that for some reason terrified me as a child. It's the only thing that's ever terrified me as a child or an adult. And the only thing I can think of that might have sort of prompted my desire to write scary paranormal stories. It was part of a Alfred Hitchcock series called Suspicion. It was on late 50s, early 60s. And the story was called, or the episode was called A Voice in the Night. It came from a 1907 short story, called A Voice in the Night. So it's a period. And it starts with a ship on the ocean that's becalmed in a heavy, heavy fog. And the captain and first mate hear a voice in the night, literally. Somebody has rowed close to them and asks them not to shine a light on him, but that he does need food and would they please give him some. So they're not really sure what's going on, but they do give him the food because he apparently really badly needs it. So he thanks them and rows off into the fog and comes back later and says, please don't shine the light on me, but I'm going to tell you a story. And his story starts with he and his wife being aboard a ship, and there was a big storm. The ship was wrecked, and they're floating on a mast, and there's a very heavy fog, and through it they see another ship just sitting there, and it's run aground. So they board the ship, and they find it's just completely covered with mold, slimy fungus. And so they have to go aboard. They don't really have a choice. And they find a room that they clear out. They manage to clear out the fungus. They use a carbolic acid to do it and clean it up. They find food and they filter water. The food's in cans and it's encrusted with this fungus, but they feel it's probably safe because it's in cans. So they clean it off and eat the food. Then they notice that the fungus is coming back in the cabin, and when it appears on the woman's pillow, she decides that's enough of that. We're not going to be staying here any longer. So they go on to the island that's nearby, and near where the ship is grounded, and they find a little patch of beach that doesn't have the fungus growing on it. They make a tent out of the sails, and one thing they do notice is that there's no fish, and there's no life of any sort on the island, which they find very odd. But the rest of the island, other than this one patch, is completely covered with this moldy fungus, and it's awful. And so they manage to live for a while. The fog will not lift. It just stays. It's horrible. They prepare a fire just in case the fog lifts and a ship comes by, but they don't light it. And a little bit of time passes, and the woman notices one day that the man has some of this fungus growing on his cheek. And so they use the carbolic acid to get rid of it. And that seems fine at first. But it does come back. And I don't think he tells her right away, but it does come back. And what he wants to do is put her in the boat and send her out with the food that's left. He says, maybe there'll be a ship out there. You can clear the fog. We can, you'll maybe be found. And she won't go. She says, no, I'm not leaving. And so he has to accept that answer. But the fog one night does clear, and he sees a ship, and he's very excited. So he grabs a torch and he's going to light a fire. He won't go because obviously this fungus keeps coming back on him. But he wants to light the fire, and she rushes out, grabs his hand, throws down the torch, and says, no, you can't do this. We can't take this out to them. We can't take this back to anybody. And the man's confused, and then she shows him that on her arm there is also some fungus. So it's in both of them, and it's growing, and they know they can't get rid of it. So that's where that part of the story ends, and you go back to the man or the voice in the rowboat, and he's saying, this is what happened to us, so, just don't go near the island. Whatever you do, don't go near this island. And thank you for the food. It's wonderful. We appreciate it. We'll appreciate it in death. My wife will, certainly, so they're going to die. And as he's rowing away, one of the crew can't help holding up a light and just looking, and what you see is this big sponge fungus monster type thing rowing away into the dark. And that was the man at one point. And that's really how it ends, but only for the series and only for that episode, because that particular show, which I said I saw when I was about 7, terrified me for years. I would wake up and think I had this fungus growing on me. And as I discovered, other people felt the same thing. It was, being Alfred Hitchcock, it was very, very well done. And so there's that. That was the only thing that ever scared me, ever. But it did fascinate me at the same time, and so maybe that's why I did decide to write paranormal stories. And I've got 4 of them coming out on the Scream app. It's, let's see, what are they called? It's Black Rose, Blood Orchid, Scarlet Bells, and Dark Lily, and they're all available on the Scream app. So look for Jenna Ryan and look for those stories, and thank you very much for listening.